everyone, my name is Kylie Rostad, and today we're going to be learning a little bit about genetics while we get to draw a whole family of cute and scary monsters. So, are you ready? I'm ready. Let's get started. So to start, we're going to talk a little bit about what genetics actually means. Genetics is the study of heredity, or how certain traits pass from parents to their children, or offspring. So you are your parents' offspring or child. So you probably look a lot like your parents, right? You have your mom's hair or your dad's eyes. This is because every living thing, every plant, animal, you and me, has genes that determine what we look like, and we get those genes from our parents. Genes are the basic units of heredity. Genes are found in your DNA, or if you want to be really fancy about it, your deoxyribonucleic acid, but trust me, you don't need to know that word right now, which is found on chromosomes in your cells. So chromosomes are just packets of DNA and protein, and humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes, so 46 total. Different types of animals and plants have different numbers of chromosomes, but we have 46. Humans have between 25,000 and 35,000 genes. That's a lot. You get half of your chromosomes from your biological mom and half from your biological dad. The way these genes interact with each other is what makes you, you. It makes you different from your siblings who may have different genes than you for things like hair color, eye color, number of toes, how pink your mouth is, things like that. Genes can determine what kinds of foods we digest best, how good your immune system is at fighting infections, and if you're even good at math. So, because genes determine what we look like and a lot of our body's functions, we study them a lot in science and medicine. This is because sometimes genes do not work as they should. For example, there is a condition called albinism, where your skin, eyes, and hair lack color, or the thing that makes color called pigment. There is also a condition called color blindness, where your body does not have the right cells, called photoreceptors, in your eyes to see certain colors. So some people can't see red or see green. Even some of you guys might not be able to see it. It's more common in boys, but girls can also be colorblind. So some more background about genetics. It was actually discovered pretty recently, less than 200 years ago in the 1850s. A monk in Austria named Mendel wanted to figure out why pea plants looked the way they did. Some had flowers that were red, some were white. Some had wrinkled peas and others had round. Some peas were green and others were yellow, and their pea pods were either green or yellow. So he did a bunch of experiments to see which traits offspring would have when the parents were different. If one parent plant had round peas and the other had wrinkled, what would the offspring's phenotype be? So Mendel looked at all these traits through generations to see how these appearances interacted with each other. And if pea plants and flowers can have this much variety, just imagine how many traits you can study in humans. So let's get some definitions ready. You don't need to know these, but it will help. So our genes, or our DNA, is what's called our genotype. That's easy to remember, right? Genes or genotype. Then there's something called our phenotype, or what we look like on the outside. And I don't have a great way to remember that. Honestly, you can just remember it as the other one, or just what you look like. So our phenotype is determined by which gene is dominant and which is recessive. Dominant means that it's more likely to win and become your phenotype, or part of your appearance. Recessive is less likely to win and is less likely to be part of your appearance. So I think that covers a lot of our background information and more. So now we're going to get started on our activity. I found this activity online, and it was posted by a woman named Cindy Rosier. Go ahead and gather all the materials you're going to need for this drawing. You will need some paper, something to color or draw with, such as crayons or colored pencils or markers, and a coin to flip, like a quarter. But you can also use a penny or anything that's lying around. Just something that has heads and something that has tails. And we're going to be drawing monster families. So we will be flipping coins, and heads will be dominant and tails will be recessive. We're going to do it together, and we will be drawing 3 monsters total. So let's start with Mommy. We're going to do this all together, one step by step, and feel free to pause the video at each step to make your monster as beautiful or as scary as possible. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to pick is our color. So go ahead and flip your coin. Mine landed on heads, so my monster will be green. If your coin landed on tails, then your monster is going to be red. And I'm going to tell you all now that I am very very bad at drawing, so your monsters are probably going to look a lot better than mine. So once you grab the right colors for your monster, let's go on and move to the next step. Okay, so the next thing we're going to draw is face and head shape. So go ahead and flip your coin. Mine landed on tails, so my head will be square. If yours landed on heads, your monster will have a round head. So go ahead and draw either a square or a circle for your monster's head towards the top of your paper. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to decide is neck length. So go ahead and flip your coin. Mine landed on heads, so my monster is going to have a short neck. If your coin landed on tails, you will make a long neck attached to your head. Okay, so the next thing that we're drawing is the shape of our body. Go ahead and flip your coin. Mine landed on heads, so my body is going to be square. If your coin landed on tails, go ahead and draw a nice big round circle at the bottom of your neck, towards the middle of your paper, but leave room for legs, that comes later. Okay, so our next trait is going to be texture. So this is either going to be hair or scales all over your body, depending on your flip. So my coin landed on tails, so my monster is going to have scales like a snake. If your coin lands on heads, then go ahead and make your monster body super hairy. Go ahead and pause the video to decorate your monster body. Okay, so next we're going to draw legs. So go ahead and flip your coin. Mine landed on heads, so my monster is going to have 4 legs. If your coin lands on tails, go ahead and draw 6 legs. Just wherever you feel legs should go. They can go at the bottom of your body or on the side, a mixture of both. Just make sure you leave room on your head for some stuff later. Okay, I'll give you a minute to do that. Okay, so next is fingers or claws. Go ahead and flip your coin. You guys are becoming pros and you could probably teach this. So mine landed on heads, so I'm going to draw claws on my hands. If your coin lands on tails, draw some fingers. No, it does not matter how many, just make sure they go on your hands. So next is whether or not your monster gets a tail. So go ahead and flip your coin. Mine landed on tails, so my monster is going to get a long tail. If your coin landed on heads, your monster will not have a tail. So go ahead and take a minute to draw out your tail if your coin landed on tails. Okay, we're moving back up to the face. So go ahead and flip your coin. Mine landed on tails, so my monster is going to get a beak. If your coin landed on heads, your monster will get a nice toothy smile. Make sure you leave room up top for eyes, or put the mouth wherever you want. These aren't human. Okay, time for horns. Go ahead and flip your coin. Mine landed on heads, so my monster is going to get some horns. I'm drawing 2, but it really doesn't matter how many horns you draw. If your coin landed on tails, your monster will not have horns. So next is antenna. Flip your coin. Mine just landed on tails, so my monster is not going to have antenna. If your coin landed on heads, go ahead and draw some nice antenna towards the top of your head, near the horns, or where the horns would go if you didn't have horns to begin with. And usually there are 2, but you can make it however many you want. Okay, so this is our last feature, and it's number of eyes. So go ahead and flip your coin. Mine landed on heads, so my monster is going to have 2 eyes. If your coin landed on tails, your monster will have 1 eye. And now it's time to give your mom some personality. So go ahead and take a few minutes. You can pause the video and decorate the rest of your monster. Color her in, make her nice and pretty, give her a nice background or environment. And so go ahead and pause, and then you can move on to the next part of this activity.
I'm so excited that your first monster is done. We're gonna draw one more, but I just wanted to give you a peek at what my mother looks like. She looks pretty good. I'm sure yours looks better, but you know, she has all of her traits. She's got her square body and her 4 legs and some claws. I gave her some purple accessorizing, and because she was already green, I made the grass blue because we also don't know what kind of grass the planet she's from has. So let's move on to the second part. We're gonna be drawing Dad.
Time to make Dad. So go ahead and start flipping your coins and determine which of the traits your monster is going to have and what your monster is going to look like. So mom and dad are gonna probably have some features in common. Maybe they'll both have a square body, maybe they'll both be green. So go ahead and pause the video while you make your second monster, and then we'll move on to this third part of the activity.
Okay, so I finished my drawing of Dad Monster. And looking at my monsters, you can see that they have some things in common, right? They both have square heads, short necks, square bodies, scales, horns, and claws. But they have a different number of legs. Mommy has a tail and Dad does not. And Mom has 2 eyes and Dad has 1 eye. They also have different mouths. So we're going to move on to the third part of this activity, which is drawing their baby.
Okay, so this third part of the activity is where our genetics knowledge from earlier comes in. So how do we decide which trait the baby will have if the parents have different traits for that particular feature? Yeah, that's exactly right. Whether or not it's dominant or recessive. So when we draw the baby, we will not be flipping coins. We'll be using the parent monsters we made. So remember what I said earlier about dominant being more likely to be expressed on the outside? We're gonna play with that a bit. So let's walk through the first few features. So my mom monster is green and my dad monster is red. According to our chart, green is dominant. So just picture green and red fighting to be the color of the baby. And green wins because it's dominant. So my baby monster is going to be green. Moving on to the next trait, both of my parent monsters have a square-shaped head. So my baby's head is going to be square-shaped. But if you have one parent with a round face and one parent with a square face, your baby's gonna have a round face because that trait is dominant. It's more likely to become the feature on the outside. My next trait is the neck, and both of my parents have a shorter neck. But if one of your parents has a long neck and one has a short neck, you're gonna draw a short neck for your baby because short is dominant. And for body, square is dominant and round is recessive. So both of my parents have square bodies, so my baby's gonna get a square body. But if one of yours is round and one is square, you're gonna get a square body. Okay? So I'm gonna let you do the rest of these traits. There are 8, so go ahead and look at your parents, see what's the same, what's different, and decide which one is going to be dominant in that situation. So all of the traits and whether or not they're dominant or recessive are on this slide. Okay? So I'll give you a few minutes to do the baby and meet back here. You'll see at the end of this that your baby's going to look a lot like both parents.
So just a reminder, this is what my parents look like, and this is what baby looks like. So I went through all of the traits and picked which ones were gonna be dominant if the parents' traits were different. So if I hold up Dad, you can see that baby and Dad have some common features. So they both have the same mouth and they both have antenna. Those are dominant traits that Mom didn't have. And if we compare to Mom, you can see a lot of similarities. They have the same color, the same number of limbs, they have the same number of eyes, so they have a lot in common with both.
Okay, so now you have your whole family of monsters. Aren't they so cute? And we've learned a little bit about genetics in the meantime. So let's just quickly recap what we've talked about today. Our genes, which are found in our DNA, tell our body what to look like. We get them from our mom and dad. We get half from our mom and half from our dad. They determine the color of our eyes, skin, hair, whether our earlobes are attached or not, whether or not we can do certain things with our tongues, and so much more. And if the traits that we get from our mom and the traits we get from our dad are different, then the more dominant trait will become what the baby looks like on the outside, or what their phenotype is. So here's a list of my references that I used in some of the slides, just for the pictures I used and the idea for the activity. and I really hope you enjoyed. I had a lot of fun making it. I think genetics are the coolest things ever, and I highly encourage you to go exploring on your own for some more activities or more information regarding genetics and what they can do and what they determine. So please let us know what you think, and have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye.